Loading. Good. Can you hear me? You want to check me? You check me out? Check me. Yeah. Don't check me. Sure. Oh, we're live. Can you hear me? How do I sound? Oh, I heard that. Turn me down. Definitely don't. Yep, definitely don't want to hear my voice. I forced myself to watch one of my last lessons. Gosh, I hate that. I sure hate that. I sure hate that. You guys got to listen to it more than I do, though. So. All right, good morning. I am excited to see how these next 4 weeks go. This will be the first time I've put together a string of messages like this. We've done Sunday school for 9 months now. Done devotions, I've done prayer groups, but I've never done like a breakdown of a 4-week study like this. So I'm a little nervous, but I'm really excited. Like I said, I've never done this, and I really consider this a huge blessing to get to come up here and do this. Where my flesh fails me, where my flesh, where it pushes against it. It's the greatest dose of accountability that you guys can offer me, and that I can give something back to the church. And I know that you all do so much for the people around you and your everyday life and your jobs and your families. And so, it's just me and Sarah right now, but it just feels good. My flesh tends to try to get away from it, but I like it. So I'm still a little too OCD for my own good when I'm putting my messages together, but I'm getting better, I hope. So for the next 4 weeks, we're going to dive into prayer. Joe prefaced that a little bit last week. I was reading and I was praying and just trying to figure out kind of what I wanted to do. I really like the character studies. I've done character studies on my own, but I really like that. I like jumping in to figure out who somebody is and the people that they affect. And, we work with people so much every day, and I feel like I'm kind of an analyzer. I'm a people watcher. I kind of sit back. I don't, believe it or not, I don't talk a whole lot at work. And so I really like those character studies, jumping in and figuring out where these people came from. So I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for the 4 weeks. And I was praying, and then it just kind of hit me like, how about prayer? Why not prayer? Let's pick something that I'm not good at. As I get older, my attention span is actually kind of starting to dwindle. It's actually getting shorter. I feel like it should be going the other way around. Sarah and I joke about it all the time at home, and she makes fun of me because it's kind of funny, but it's actually kind of annoying, and I was thinking about that when I was going through the options of prayer and thinking about how I wanted to lay this out and what would be good for us to study, since prayer was already a discipleship lesson. And I just kind of connected the dots between my ADD mentality here and with my prayer life as well. So I put together like a little snapshot into my life, so you see how my mind works. And maybe it'll make you laugh, but typical afternoon when we're rushing around and I haven't made the time for the things that I need to get done at home. It's a good picture of my prayer life as well. I've started the washer, or I've started the water in the washer, so it's filling. She's already laughing, so you know what's coming. Right, so I moved the clothes from the washer to the dryer, but I haven't shut the door because I'm not ready to start it yet. It's really loud and it annoys me, so I want to wait until I close the door. And I've got the water starting in the washer so it can start to fill. So I can put the clothes in there, you put the soap so it mixes up and you got a good mix of the colors or whatever it is. And while I'm thinking about that, I wanted to do the dishes, right? So I stopped doing that because the water has time to fill. That can work while I'm working in the kitchen. So I go in, I open the dishwasher. It's my turn to be tongue-tied. So you open the dishwasher door and you turn the cups over so they can drip dry, right? They've got the water on the top. I hate that because I always pick it up. I'm trying to do things fast and I'm flinging water everywhere. So I turn them over so they can drip dry, all right? So I go in there, dryer's open, washer's filling, turn the cups over in the dishwasher so they can dry. I'm trying to be efficient here, so I'm 2 for 1. But when I'm in there, I realize that it's almost dinner time and I forgot to thaw the chicken that morning. So I need to get that out, right? So I'm putting hot water in the sink. I'm gonna thaw the chicken. I've got stuff from work that I need to put my lunch away because it's been bad. It's been sitting out for an hour since I got home. So I'm putting it away. I need to get my stuff out to make lunch the next day. 5 minutes later, the dryer's not full. or it is full, but it's not going. The washer has stopped filling with water, and I have to restart. The dishwasher's open. I hit my head on the freezer door, and the chicken is still in there. So, like, this is like literally all the time. Like, this is not a this happened this week. This happens all of the time, and it's a typical process with my prayer life as well. The motivation is there. I want to get so many things done. I want to be efficient. I want the house to be clean. I want to have a healthy prayer life, and I want to get these things, in my heart, into a, form of prayer. I want to talk to the Lord, but there's a difference between motivation and discipline, and we'll talk about that a couple different times today. The motivation is there, but the discipline is not always there to carry that out. So we're all different people. We all live different lives and have different schedules. So maybe you're sitting there telling me I just need to slow down. That doesn't really work for me. So save your breath. I am an on or off person. I am either doing 100 things at 10% or I'm doing nothing. So somebody like me, maybe somebody like yourself, if you're similar to me, your life requires structure, and it requires dedication of time and an allocated plan to be able to do things the right way. If I don't have the right time, I'm going to do everything else before I do my laundry, because I hate laundry. Laundry takes the most amount of time. It's the least favorite chore, and it affects me the least in the long run because I have clothes that will supplement my lack of laundry being done. And my prayer life is similar. I struggle with my prayer life sometimes because I'll be completely honest with you. I don't necessarily like to just sit down and pray. I just don't. It's not a scapegoat to say, well, I don't like it, so I do everything else. But if I can get other things done, if I can listen to a sermon, or if I can read, or if I can do a small study and work on my lesson, then at the end of the day, I can justify not doing my prayer time, not doing my laundry, because I just ran out of time, right? And that's why the laundry, if it ever does get through the 2 loads, it usually ends up in a clean pile on the couch. It sits there for a couple days. So, praying is often my last resort because, like I said, it's not necessarily my favorite. And believe it or not, I am a little restless, physically, mentally, spiritually, as my fingers get stuck in my lesson here. So I put my fast-track mind to work with the Bible, and I kind of attach that to my prayer life as well. And then this is, not a terribly long intro, but I'm getting into why it's going to benefit. We're going to look at Hannah today. And I know Joe did a character study on her, but her story is phenomenal. And there's ways to learn the Bible at different angles with different people and different time frames. So what I'm confessing my faults to you. We're going to look at James 5:16, and it's going to say that as well. But what I often tend to do is I attach God to my schedule. I'm more than happy to listen to a sermon on the way to work because it's the attached priority, right? I have to get up. I have to get to work at a certain time. So because I'm driving and there's nothing else that I can do, I'll attach a sermon to it and say, I spent some Bible time this morning, right? Sometimes I'll even listen to sermons while I'm working out. The priority is to get to the gym, or the priority is to involve myself with my workout. And while I'm there, since I literally can't do anything else, I can't do laundry or I can't work, I'll listen to a sermon, and I do the same thing with my prayer life, whether it's smashed between the brushing my teeth and falling asleep 10 seconds after my head hits the pillow. It's not a matter of attaching God to our schedule. It's the other way around, right? The priority is, are we attaching ourselves to God and allowing Him to be first in our life? And then if we have time to do the gym, if we have time to do, whatever else it may be, that's where the priority lies. Talked about it takes undivided, raw, intent dedication to have a solid prayer life. Because if you're like me, it doesn't really naturally come to you. So as we continue to try to do something for the Lord here, it's going to take more and more work. I'm thinking about how to outline this for this 4 weeks. Prayer is an easy thing. It really is. It's a simple thing. But if we think that it's hard now, I'm thinking, we've got a meeting that's coming up. We're going to lay out kind of what we want to do. We've got ministries, we've got events that we want to get scheduled, and all these different things. If we think it's hard now, what do we think it's going to be like when we bring additional families in here, God willing, of course. And I was thinking about that from our prayer aspect, and does our prayer support the needs of a 12-person congregation right now, or does our prayer support the needs of a dying world of sinners that are lost and going to hell around us? James 5:16 says, "Confess your faults one to another and pray one for another, that ye may be healed. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much." So I'd say I'm confessing a decent amount to you this morning. I've already told you that I'm basically ADHD. I told you I don't like prayer. I'm airing it all out there for you. But the fervent prayer of the righteous man availeth much. We can get a lot done simply by establishing a solid prayer life. Before we try to do the outreach ministries, before we try to find the building, before we try to bring families in, the first thing that we can take care of, I think, from an easy standpoint, one of the easy check boxes to mark is our prayer life. So for the next 4 weeks, I'm going to do my absolute best to challenge myself, challenge you all here as well to strengthen and be more mentally aware of your prayer life. Like I said, we went through this in discipleship. This was a 45-minute lesson. I think Joe did the lesson on prayer, or Steve maybe, I'm not sure. I didn't. But there's so much more than those lessons that we could offer in 45 minutes, and that's why we said that when we went through those. Just because we finished those discipleship lessons doesn't mean that we don't go back to them or that they don't come up again in conversation and importance. So we're going to look at prayer, 4 different types of prayer for this next month, and then we'll get into it. So I'll pray and we'll get after it. Dear God, thank you for this day. Lord, I thank you for this book that you've given us, free of anything that we really ever had to do. Lord, I just pray that we take it and use it. I pray that we be thankful for it. I pray that we use it to help strengthen our prayer life, that we would speak to you more throughout the week. I just pray that you get me out of the way and let this be a blessing to everybody here. Love you. Thank you for your son and the sacrifice. In Jesus' name, amen. So prayer is simply the tool that the Lord left for us to communicate with him. Really no need to be attached to any bells and whistles, all of the different things for your prayer life to be right. You just simply need to be attached to your prayer life for it to be right. God inspired the Bible for us to have in our hands so that he can communicate with us. And 2 Timothy 3:16 through 17 says, "All scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works." The Bible is that perfect work that he's given us for those 4 different things: the doctrine, the reproof, the correction and instruction in righteousness. So if he's given us the perfect standard for how he speaks to us, then naturally, in a 2-way relationship, he has to provide something for us to be able to communicate back with him. So God gives us prayer. So the 4 different types of prayer should hopefully give us an additionally in-depth look at exactly what God is looking for in our communication back with him. If you want to study these out on your own, I'm going to give you all 4 today, and then we're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 for the weeks. So if you want to study these out on your own and do this within the weeks, then be my guest. But, I shouldn't say but I was thinking about the conversation that Joe and Greg had, and, just the context of, I think he just used the intro for the week 3, whatever it was, on his lesson, and talked about the conversation that they had and swapping biblical context in scripture and just admonishing and helping one another. Like, I welcome that. My flesh doesn't necessarily have to be confrontation, but if there's something that I ever say, that doesn't necessarily line up, or if there's something that we don't agree on, or if you have questions, just talk to me, because I'd much more rather stand up here and give the correct information here. So I'm going to do my best. I feel like I always try to do my best here, but like I said, if you want to study these throughout the week, you're more than welcome to. The 4 prayer types that we're going to look at in my 4-week step here is prayers of thanksgiving, prayers of intercession, prayers of supplication, and then prayer and conversation with the Lord. So this week we're going to dive into Thanksgiving. I think I mentioned that we're going to look at Hannah. Hannah is a phenomenal woman. She's a wonderful study to look at. And we're going to look at her prayer of thankfulness and just her prayer in general, and how she approaches that and what she does in general. So as a Christian, there's a lot to be thankful for in life. But unfortunately, I think similar to prayer in general, sometimes the furthest thing on our mind is just to be thankful, is just to say thanks every once in a while. And maybe that's because we get caught up in our everyday life. We're all busy people. Maybe it's because we don't think that we have a lot to be thankful for. I don't think that's necessarily anybody in this room, but I know people that feel like they don't have enough to be thankful for in life. Or maybe it's simply because we don't know how to be thankful. Regardless of whatever it may be, we're going to dive through that through this study. And 1 Thessalonians 5:17 and 18 makes it pretty simple and practical to start. It says, let me turn over there. I thought I wrote it in here, but I guess I didn't. It's pray without ceasing, and in everything give thanks, I believe, but I want to make sure I don't quote it incorrectly. I know 17 is pray without ceasing. That's one of those really easy memory verses. Throw that into the discipleship lesson. Yeah. 5:17 and 18 says, pray without ceasing, in everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you. So I think we'll find that the quality of life, regardless of how stressful it is right now, can increase exponentially if we just focus on those two different things, and praying without ceasing and finding a way in everything to give thanks, because everything good and everything bad is from the Lord. You can find a good thing in anything if you're willing to look the right way and in the right place. So turn over to 1 Samuel chapter 1. We learned with Joe's study that this is the introduction of Elkanah and his two wives. So Hannah and Penina. I wonder if I'm blasting people's ears out with turning the pages right by the mic. That probably wasn't very quiet either. Really? Cool. I can make it loud. So 1 Samuel chapter 1 with our three characters here. So Hannah is seemingly barren, but Penina is able to I don't know. I'm going to pick Penina. If it's wrong, like I said, see me after class. So Hannah is seemingly barren and Penina has children, right? It says that Hannah was the one, but Penina was the other. And I like how Joe went through that to show the simple words in the Bible can have a huge meaning. But we go on to read that in Hannah's trial, she's provoked by the adversary of the story, because there's nothing like going through the hardest time of your life and having the other person or the other woman or whoever it may be sit there and point their finger at you and say, man, this is pretty nice. What's wrong with you, right? There's nothing like having that. And there are a ton of stories in the Bible that compare and contrast bad things or bad people who are thriving to good people who are not necessarily thriving. We took a pretty in-depth look at Job and his three friends. I'm going to use quotes a lot today, I guess. The friends that came to him. But are we praying without ceasing when we find ourselves in the same shoes? Are we thankful for the opportunity and the situation regardless of the outlook? And I'm going to pass on answering that if I was in Hannah's shoes and seeing that, because I know my own life. And I've got things that happen that are a lot less influential than seemingly not being able to have a child, and I get out of shape, been out of shape out of it. So Joe showed us that she's mentioned as the one and Penina is the other, but it's not really that hard to see if you read through it to see which one is receiving the blessings, it seems like, right? Hannah is doing things the right way, she's the right one, but she can't have children. This is your typical worldly comment, why do bad things happen to good people? Why does a loving God do this to a faithful servant and a woman that wants to serve him? What a mean God. I don't want to be part of that. We like to slap our human seal of approval on it. Whoever gets the good thing first is better. Whoever makes the first sale at work is better. Whoever has fill in the blank first is better. They're the preferred because the good things happen to her first. But that doesn't always mean better. First doesn't always mean that you are the preferred or the better person, the better situation. I can think of a lot of things where it doesn't necessarily benefit to be first. And, we looked at 9/11 yesterday, and I'm just thinking in the context, like, would you have wanted to be first on the beaches of Normandy? I'm going to say you probably would benefit if you were not the first one when that boat ramp dropped. So I'm not going to say that good things come to those who wait, because that's fitting God in sort of a time box. But rather, I'm going to say that good things come to those that do it the right way and allow God's timing to happen. Hannah is steadfast and thankful, and we'll see that her perseverance and prayer to the Lord pays off in God's timing. Because you can You can be patient and you can wait and not necessarily wait long enough, right? Good things come to those who wait, and then you have to put an asterisk, right? It's got to be God regardless. So the world doesn't, gotten ahead of myself. Hannah is thankful in prayer for the opportunity to have something to give back to the Lord, and then she's thankful in prayer for the blessing that she receives through it. This is more of a two-way street here. You know, are we thankful in prayer in either situation? The world doesn't satisfy the craving that the lost world is looking for, but oftentimes the Lord doesn't seem to be quite enough to satisfy the craving that Christians are looking for either, because we're not looking at God, we're looking through God to what's next on the stuff milestone. You know, is God enough, or is Jesus just all right with you? I used to work at a daycare, and I can tell you firsthand that it didn't always pay off to be first. I'm selling myself out, so if any of those kids are out there watching, then maybe I wasn't the best teacher ever, but here's my class. Didn't do what I want. I had 4th and 5th graders, so I didn't have the really young kids, and I didn't have the kids when they're getting into like the middle school age. They're right there in between where they still had a little bit of innocence, but they were still like, you could kind of, you could play with them, you could joke with them, and they would get it. They weren't too young. So, some of those 4th and 5th graders were a little bit easier to like than others. To be honest, that one's not open for feedback. Don't come see me after class on that one, because that's the fact. And it's not their fault. It's the parents' fault. But, when we sat down to divide out teams, or when we sat down to have snack, or who was going to be in my little squad for field trips, it didn't always pay off to be first, because we'd sit there and I would call up some of the kids that, I sound so mean, but maybe that I didn't like as much, or they were troublemakers, or they caused issues, and I'd give them their snack, they'd get their bag of pretzels and they'd get their water, and then I'd send them out to the playground, and I guarantee they're trotting down. Until little Johnny gets down here, I got called first, Mr. DJ. That's what they call me, Mr. DJ. He called me first. I can't wait to show him. But little did they know, I sent them out first so that I could give the other kids what I wanted to give them. Right? They got Doritos, and they got Little Debbie's, and they got Capri Suns instead of the nasty Dasani water bottles. And instead of sending them out to fry like ants on the blacktop, they'd go upstairs with me and they'd get another thing of gym time. And I play dodgeball with them, or I play basketball with them. And I could only do that because I had I had to get the other ones out of the way, because I didn't want them coming up and, why can't I go? Because I don't want to play with you, right? So it doesn't always pay off to be first. I'll just be honest with you. So, like I said, if you're watching this, you got called last. If you're watching this, I guarantee it. You were never called first. So, but they learn, I'm sidetracked a little bit, but they learn, at first they were like, well, why didn't I get called first? And then they're like, wait, I don't have to go outside. Okay. Learning. Hannah teaches us that trials and tribulations shouldn't diminish our prayer life, but instead make it stronger. We talk about the purification process of 1 Corinthians 3 fairly often, in that gold and silver and precious stones are purified and made stronger after going through fire, but those things aren't easy to obtain. You can't just walk outside and get gold and silver and these precious stones in the grass right now. But I could go outside right now and get up. There's trees. We live in the Midwest. There's trees everywhere. There's grass. There's hay all over the place, especially in Kansas. I could go out there and get a handful of sticks and wood or hay, and I could stuff my pockets. But am I doing that just so it looks like I have something? Is it really worth doing that, or is it better to invest the time and do things right so that you can have that gold and silver and precious stone? And those are the things that are really going to last when we go through the trials and tribulations. James 1:2-5 says, my brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that you may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. Hannah was more than tempted to give that up when she saw that the other woman was receiving the blessings and that she was able to have the children before her. But she allowed the trying of her faith to work patience in her life, and just did it the best way that she knew how to, and gave it to the Lord. So maybe you're asking the same question I did when I was digging to start the routine, or start my outline. How can you teach through the beginning of this chapter on prayer and thankfulness when all you're left with is a barren woman with a wife-in-law? Like, I don't know what do you got? A sucky wife-in-law and a dumb husband? it's not a great way to start off a lesson of prayer and thankfulness. But, that's because if I was in the situation, you wouldn't find those things. But with Hannah, you do. Thankfulness in our heart doesn't come from the tangibles in life, but rather it has to start in the intangibles, so that when and if we ever do get the stuff, we know how to be thankful. So many people, and now today's time, have so many things and they don't even know how to be thankful for it because they're just looking for the next thing. 2 Corinthians 4:17-18 says, "For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory, while we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal." Sorry. Are you thankful for your salvation this morning, or would you rather have something that you could touch? Would you rather have something that you could shove in your pockets and show for that? Are we thankful for this church and the Bible? Is God enough, or is Jesus just all right with you? Philippians 4:19, "But my God shall supply all your need," singular, "according to his riches and glory by Jesus Christ." Jesus should be more than just all right to you. What a dumb song. Sorry, I'm really calling stuff out this one. It's not dumb. It's kind of dumb. The determining factor here is Hannah's attitude, though. The way that we set ourselves apart when we can actually do something to give back to the Lord is when we have the right heart attitude. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I don't think Hannah was really concerned with Peninnah at this time. I don't think she was looking over her shoulder, and I don't think that she was worried about what she had. It only ever talks about her weeping and being sore and bitterness of soul because she couldn't give back to God. She wasn't looking at Peninnah. She wasn't looking at her husband who was saying, "Oh, don't worry. You still have me. It's okay." Right? Hannah has pure motives, pure desires, and a pure attitude of heart toward her relationship with the Lord. And that's how she has the spiritual discipline to do things the right way. We can say that she has the motivation. She wants to have a child so that she can give him back to the Lord. But motivation becomes discipline when it becomes the right actions, and it's filtered through the attitude of heart. Verse 9, "So Hannah rose up after they had eaten in Shiloh, and after they had drunk. Now Eli the priest sat upon a seat by a post of the temple of the Lord, and she was in bitterness of soul, and prayed unto the Lord, and wept sore. And she vowed a vow, and said, O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look on the affliction of thine handmaid, and remember me, and not forget thine handmaid, but will give unto thine handmaid a man-child, then I will give him unto the Lord all the days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head." Hannah's prayer is for the Lord to bless her with fruit so that in time she can give that fruit back to him for the nourishment of his honor and glory. She has a sense of thankfulness in her heart before she even receives what it is that she's asking for. And it's because of precisely how she's asking and what she's asking for. I've said it a couple times, but this story is incredible, and it convicted me quite a bit this week because her heart is breaking because she just simply wants a chance to give back to the Lord. When was the last time that my heart broke because I didn't get a chance to share the gospel with somebody? Right? When was the last time that your heart broke because you weren't bearing fruit, or when was the last time my heart broke because I wasn't bearing fruit for the Lord? Just a simple way of saying thanks. Did my heart break for the men and women around me this week on their way to hell? When I realized that I had spent more time thinking about a fantasy football draft and sauna sales than I did my Bible. Does my heart break in that sense, or am I thinking and looking at the wrong things? So I said, confess your faults one to another. My prayer life, it needs help. Hannah has the ability to help me there. Verse 10, "And she was in bitterness of soul, and prayed unto the Lord, and wept sore." She's dying inside for a chance to give back, right? It's completely consumed her. I think of some times in my life where I went through maybe some hardships, some troubles, whether it was bestowed upon myself or if it was handed down on me with something else that happened. But those thoughts and those feelings and every fiber of your being is just consumed with that thing on your heart, whether it's that person or it's that job or it's that trouble. Hannah is completely consumed with this inability to be able to give back to the Lord, and that's all she can think about, right? I put this in here for myself, so I'm not stabbing any of you but me, but how many times, I'll just say, have I thought about the Chiefs game today, right? It's week 1. Red Friday was cool. We got a bad taste in our mouth from the Super Bowl. How many times have I thought about the game today. That's how you know I'm just preaching to myself. You guys can go home. But it's true, it consumes people. I mean, look at the tailgates, look at the buses, and just this grand phenomenon of this worship of a game. I'm not that bad, but I'm bad. I am. I've thought about it today. Matthew 6:21 says, "For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." Hannah's heart first broke for the fruit that she wasn't able to bear for him, or for that she wanted to bear for the Lord. I shouldn't say that she couldn't, because she will. But and I see that as a form of thankfulness. I really do. How can you read that? Caught up on my mic here. How can you read that and say that she's not thankful for the relationship that she has with the Lord and what He's done for her? Your heart breaks. I think about Christmas. I've got a weird mind. I really do. I'm airing it out to you guys today. But when people buy me stuff, the what is it? The party thing, the shower and the wedding. When people get us nice things, my heart breaks because I just want to give back. Okay, they gave me this, so I want to give them this. And it's genuine. It really is. That's how it is. You buy people things for their wedding shower, and you buy people things for their wedding. But my heart, I feel bad. I want to give back. And I just think that that's a form of thankfulness for that relationship with that person, because you appreciate them. And Hannah obviously appreciates and loves the Lord so much that her heart breaks that she can't give back to Him. And I just see that as a form of thankfulness. We need to check where our heart is this morning and make sure that we're not only thankful in our heart for what the Lord has provided us, but that we're also telling Him that we're thankful, not just relying on the fact that He knows our heart. Well, I know that we're thankful. Well, God, I'm thankful. I'm thankful. Duh. You know what I mean? We need to tell Him. We need to tell other people as well. She told Elkanah off when he accused her of being drunk. She said, "I'm not drunk. I'm heartbroken. I want to give back to God. I don't want to." Now, I'll say this. I feel like, dude, you need to get away from me. I don't want to give anything to you. You're trying to replace the best thing in my life. Well, at least you have me. Unfortunately, one word could have taken care of that situation. But I put it here. She's heartbroken because she can't give her kid to the Lord. Maybe you should try it, Elkanah. I don't think he has a great track record. But Proverbs 15:16 says, "Better is little with the fear of the Lord than great treasure and trouble therewith." Again, is God enough, or is Jesus just all right with you? Verse 20, "Wherefore it came to pass, when the time was come, after Hannah had conceived, that she bare a son, and called his name Samuel, saying, Because I have asked him of the Lord." She immediately recognizes the blessing and who it comes from. Hannah spent a lot of time in prayer, and she exercised a tremendous amount of spiritual maturity and discipline in order to do the things the way that God would have her to do them. So it just comes down to a matter of obedience, right? Being thankful does not require any kind of miraculous spiritual skill set. Praying requires literally nothing more than a willing mindset. Right? There's all of these different things that we can do that require absolutely no additional effort. Being kind to people, always offering your best effort, having integrity, being on time to things, that takes a little bit of effort, but having a hard work ethic, all these other skills that we should tap into for our professional life and our personal life and absolutely in our ministries. These things only come down to a desire to obey, and Hannah possesses that spiritual discipline. The motivation can be there. You could want to be on time. You could want to have integrity, but the discipline comes down to when you can actually put that into action and institute that within the relationship that you have with God. And I think that she absolutely does that. She's not concerned with Peninnah. She's not concerned with Elkanah. She's not concerned with what's going on around her. Her sole focus, her sole prayer is to thank the Lord for everything that she's done for her, and then have the ability to actually show that by giving back the fruit that she bears to Him. She kills the whole "fix this and it'll never happen again, I promise, Lord" syndrome. Now, she spends the next few verses after she does bear fruit. It says that she has the son Samuel. She spends the next few verses taking care of her boy. She takes care of that fruit that the Lord was able to harvest through her. She wasn't involved in 13 different ministries at home, at the church while her child is going through the most influential years of his life. She doesn't have him at church 7 days a week, seven mornings a week, 15 hours a day. She doesn't have him in Bible studies and all these different things, but she also doesn't take him to the temple to fast, right? She also doesn't have him doing these things that he shouldn't be doing and allowing him to be with these people that he shouldn't be with. She has the balance there that teaches us that it's okay for a balance, right? It doesn't have to be all here or all here. It's not on or off like I am. It's good to have a plan and to have structure in life. Her first ministry is the first one that God trusted her with, which is her family. She said, I will take him to the temple when he is weaned, and once I do that, he will be able to abide with the Lord on his own 2 feet forever. And then she does something crazy. She actually follows through with her promise. Right? Verse 24, and when she had weaned him, she took him up with her, with 3 bullocks and 1 ephah of flour, and a bottle of wine, and brought him unto the house of the Lord in Shiloh. And the child was young, and they slew a bullock, and brought the child to Eli. And she said, O my Lord, as thy soul liveth, my Lord, I am the woman that stood by thee here, praying unto the Lord. For this child I prayed, and the Lord hath given me my petition, which I asked of him. Therefore also I have lent him to the Lord. As long as he liveth, he shall be lent to the Lord. And he worshipped the Lord there. So, something I never really noticed until I was preparing this week was that they do this together. I kind of gloss over these things sometimes when I'm reading, unless I'm looking intently. It helps to put messages together because I have to put everything under a microscope and I actually learn. Crazy how that works. I can't tell myself that enough, and I always take it for granted. But anyway, they're doing this together. This is a crucial piece of our growth in doing things together. In verse 24, the first key is that she's smart enough to wait until he's ready, right? She has the spiritual discipline. She prayed for this for so long. She has the thankfulness in her heart. The Lord brings it to her and blesses her with it, and then she actually does the right things with it. She isn't trying to just take the next lily pad of blessings. It says, she waits until she's ready, but then it says she took him up with her, and they slew the bullock, right? They have the bullocks and the flour and the wine. And then in verse 25, they slew a bullock and then went to Eli. A great way to show God that we're thankful is to actually use what he's given us. Right? The blessings in our life, to actually use those things, to utilize and be thankful for what he's actually put in our life instead of just asking for what's next. I think I'm alluded to that too here. A child doesn't know any better unless you teach them, but think about Christmas time, right? How long does the kid, and this translates into being a 28-year-old guy who does the same thing, but how long do they play with that Christmas toy that they were so excited for forever until it's like, next, right? Like they even say it in the Grinch, right? Like he comes into town and he's talking about like all these things that you asked for, and like they're in my garbage. Like I eat them. It doesn't matter, right? Hey God, I know I've been asking for a better job for 4 or 5 years now, and I know you just gave me one, but do you think I could maybe be like the top of my class? Do you think I could maybe beat out some of these tenured reps 33 days in? Hey God, I know that you helped me be at the top of my class here, but do you think I can make twice as much money? Just taking more, just let me buy it a little bit more. That train never ends. We might as well learn how to be thankful with what we have now, or just pay, we're going to have repercussions in the end. Luke 16:10 says, he that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. And he that is unjust in the least is unjust also in much. You will never be able to satisfy your flesh. You just won't. It doesn't matter if you walk out of here, you buy a lottery ticket on the way home to watch the Chiefs game. The Chiefs win by 180 points in the greatest NFL offensive game ever, and you win $45 billion. You're going to want more. You just are. And I say that in my heart and be like, no, I'm pretty happy with that. But at some point, your flesh is just going to be like, we won that one time. How about 45 billion more? You know what I mean? It's just, you can't satisfy that. Is God enough, or is Jesus just all right with you? I put that in here. Hannah is doing, so many different things. We could take, the next 4 weeks to just go through this with her. But there's 2 things that I see here that I really want to incorporate into my own life as we segue into her utter thankfulness that kind of kicks off chapter 2. It goes off into the story of Samuel, but the first one says, I am the woman that stood by thee here praying unto the Lord. Oftentimes, like I said earlier, the thankfulness in a Christian's life is the furthest thing from anything that's happening. And in a 2021 terms of social media and apps and QR codes, we live in this day and age of instant gratification. But it says that she stood by them, or she stood by thee here, praying unto the Lord. She wasn't fleeing at the first sign of trouble, right? She said, I won't say never, or no, that's not even the right verse. I'm getting ahead of myself. Hannah stood by the Lord and she didn't stop praying. How long do we stand by something that doesn't work before we decide to quit and move on? I've had a pretty rough couple weeks at work. It's a lot of calls. It's a lot of no's. It's a lot of getting hung up on. I tried to mentally prepare myself for this. I made a couple sales, and it's really exciting, but I'd be lying if I said, maybe I'll check out what's floating around on LinkedIn. It's been a month. A month in. I've never done this. Chill, right? And we do that to God, too. We're just so ready to move on. And the second thing is, for this child I prayed. And I just put in here, just be direct. Right? Tell God what you're praying for. What's the point in having a relationship with somebody if you only ever dance around the truth, if you only ever try to make them guess what it is that you're trying to get out of them? Right? The beginning of chapter 2 is the last scripture we'll look at regarding Hannah this morning. Like I said, it kind of trails off into the story of Samuel, but this has the encapsulated work of her prayer and her thankfulness. In verses 1 through 4, it says, And Hannah prayed and said, My heart rejoiceth in the Lord. Mine horn is exalted in the Lord. My mouth is enlarged over mine enemies, because I rejoice in thy salvation. There is none holy as the Lord, for there is none beside thee. Neither is there any rock like our God. Talk no more so exceeding proudly. Let not an arrogancy come out of your mouth. For the Lord is a God of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed. The bows of the mighty men are broken, and they that stumbled are girded with strength. And then Psalm 127, 3 through 4 says, Lo, children are an heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. As arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are children of the youth. So Hannah's prayer of thankfulness to God is steadfast. She stood by him. She knew what to ask. She told him directly. She was faithful. She was loyal. She was thankful before she was, by our standards, required to be thankful. So she's basically our template here. So this week, you have homework. Try to find 1 hour. 1 hour of dedicated, uninterrupted, just time to pray with the Lord. And I'm going to do it too. It's just a minimum requirement. It's just once if you want to do it more. This is not to take away from your prayer time of praying for the church or for family, but try to take an hour to just be thankful. Go through what you're thankful. I tried to do this a little bit this week when I was waking up, and just you think about so many of the obvious ones. Thank you for the church. Thank you for my salvation. Thank you for my family. But really spend an hour, get through those main ones, right? And then dig into some of the things that maybe we don't think about. Right? Thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to struggle for the cause of Christ. Lord, thank you for the opportunity to speak to somebody on behalf of you. Lord, thank you for the AC in my truck so that I don't die on the way to work, and the AC in our home. Thank you for the food in our pantry and our refrigerator. These different things. I'm not saying take it down to the granular level just to last the whole hour, right? But the main focus is just try to take an hour this week, 1/24 of your day, just once, and get away from the phone, get away from the noise, get away from whatever it is, and just talk to him. And let me know how it goes. I'm going to try to do it as well, and maybe we'll talk about it next week. I got to make sure I do it. So, all right, let's pray. Dear God, thank you for this lesson. I want to thank you, Lord, for the accountability that it offers me. I just pray that it's a blessing to you and everybody else here. I thank you for this church and what it offers me, and allow me to serve you this way, Lord. I just pray that it honors and glorifies you. Thank you for everybody in this room. Thank you for your son's sacrifice. I just pray that you give Bob the words to say. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen.